Good morning. Welcome to the March 16th Environmental Resource Committee meeting. I call the meeting to order. If we stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right.
First order of business is the draft agenda. Are there any amendments anyone would like to make?
Well, yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to have an item added. We talked some time back about going to all the HOA board meetings and making presentations and so forth.
You muted your mic.
What?
Just tap the button once. Are you trying?
Okay, okay. Can you hear me now? Going to board HOA meetings and giving a presentation on what we're doing and what have you. I had the idea of I think those of you in HOAs get a newsletter, as does ours at Winfall. I sent a brief little clip to the HOA newsletter editor for the March edition.
Do you want to add this to the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did to the agenda. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm getting carried away. Yeah. Anyway,
So we'll add this to
HOA newsletter.
Under the recycling subject.
to old
under
business, or where would you want to add?
Oh, let's just add it under recycling as a sub thing. It's
Okay.
not really that big of a deal. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Are there any other proposed amendments?
Mr. Chair, if I may, one of the things that I realized this morning, looking at old agenda packets, preparing for this morning's meeting, is that the Arbor Day event on the 22nd is an approved date. The rainout date, however, after the application was submitted, there's a wedding that Friday on our rainout date, so that would be in the park. So I have the calendar. So if we could add either A1 as to approve a rainout date for the Earth Day Arbor Day event.
Okay.
Just don't let it rain.
So we're going to add a rain out as part of the Arbor Day Earth Day planning.
Yeah, if that's the pleasure of the board.
Are there any other?
I do have one, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the shotgun approach to spelling my last name. It's spelled three or four different ways in here, but it's B-A-C-K.
Mr. Music.
Hopefully that wasn't in the minutes, that's just in the agenda.
Well, that's in the minutes, right?
That's in the agenda.
Oh, and in the minutes it's spelled.
That is,
It's in the minutes, it's spelled
on
out
me.
too.
that's on me.
Well,
I've been really trying hard,
yeah.
Rich.
No.
It's in the agenda, not the
Okay,
minutes,
okay,
right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Candace, I think you're right. It's
It's in both.
the wonderful
Draft
planning
agenda,
director.
okay.
I misspelled her
It's
name a
just-
couple times.
You know,
so-
it's just because the spell check doesn't catch it and it just goes right through.
Again, it isn't a major issue.
Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as requested with the changes?
I move we accept it with changes.
Is there a second?
I'll take it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. There's no one here from the public. The next item is election of officers for the rest of this year.
I'd like to make a motion that we retain Mr. Farrell as our chair, ERC chair.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? The next office is vice chairman. Don has served as vice chairman. I don't know if there's anyone else with an interest in this. Is there any discussion that we need to have?
Well, I move that we retain Don as vice chair.
Is that a motion?
I can tell like a motion.
Yes, I said I move that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Just a point of clarification, I know we're 2/3 of the way through this. Is this for the rest of the calendar year? Just to be clear, so we don't get down to December and say, well, when are we going to do this?
I will plan to put this back on the agenda
Yeah.
January.
Okay.
About the same time every year.
I'm not complaining, it just so we don't.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's for the rest of this year.
Yes. Just to be clear, that's all.
And secretary. Candace has served ably as secretary.
And I have to say that I would decline to serve again.
Who declined to serve.
Yeah.
Um,
And perhaps one of these two gentlemen has an interest.
I honestly don't have the capabilities or the equipment capabilities.
That's one of the issues for me.
I'm sorry?
That's one of the issues that I have. It's just difficult. I don't have a printer. My computer half the time won't do the notes.
Right, yeah. It's a transition period, I think, isn't it, from what we used to do for the last 20 years? Well,
Are you interested?
I'd like to nominate Steve then as secretary. He's
What's
here.
what do you just have?
It's taking the minutes for the meeting and
Okay,
publishing them to Chad to distribute.
that's fine. I can do it.
Thank you.
okay.
Let me say this, on
Oh,
behalf of everybody, my philosophy is of minutes is what a board does, not who says what. So this whole business of having verbatim discussions ordinarily is not necessary. In other words, we don't need 6 pages of minutes.
Can you, if you want to do the job, we'll nominate you.
No, I'm just
Then I would let Steve take charge here.
I'm just
He's
telling you
willing to do
my
it.
view. That's my opinion.
I will say this on that job. And I agree with Don.
Yeah.
They do not have to be verbatim. They have to need the intent to capture what goes on in the
Yeah.
meeting. However, the motions that are carried through those need to be documented
Yeah.
throughout because these are put in the vault and kept for
Yeah.
record in case staff needs to go back and look at the minutes.
I think, Steve, when
So you're talking about this page here that you
Yeah.
do basically?
just a minute. When I started, John was nice enough to send me something on Robert's Rules of Orders. There's a nice section in there on how to keep accurate notes, and it's a lot simpler than I had thought it would be.
Anybody second that motion?
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay.
Did you make the
I
primary
did
and the
not.
second?
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I was wondering who.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Don.
All in favor?
Start practicing.
Aye.
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 So when do we start
Candace-
taking the notes? Now, or
So
are you taking them
Candace, will you carry this meeting out?
Oh, yeah, yes. I'll
Okay, and I'll
do
do the next meeting. That's
Sure.
fine. That's fine.
And Steve, what I'll do is I'll send you a couple examples of what I've got in the past. I think Don
Okay.
was our secretary for the previous year, and Candace has done a good job over the past year. I'll send you examples of what I have.
Candace, I'll say I follow Hoyle's rule of order.
Really?
Poker, right?
Oh.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay. Great. We're all set for the rest of the year.
Congratulations.
Next item is the meeting minutes of February 16th. Are there any amendments to these minutes that anyone cares to make, other than the spelling of Rich's name?
I think it's correct in the minutes. It was the agenda.
Yeah,
Did you
it's-
bring
Well,
it down in the
7C,
minutes? Where?
7C. It's
Oh, geez.
black.
I'm telling you, my computer just
Oh,
wants to
it's a
do
spell
what it
check.
does.
Spell check.
It won't spell check names.
Blame
I
the
think
It's
computer.
just me.
There was one other, but it got corrected, didn't it?
Well, I think it's correct
No, I
everywhere
think
else
it's
in there.
back,
I really tried hard to
Black,
get them
black,
right.
all three. But again, I'm not offended. It's happened for 60 years.
Where is it? Is it somewhere else in there besides 7C? I thought there was. They really worked hard to get them all right.
Under 5 is correct.
Mhm.
5.
Correct in the attendees.
And 2 is correct.
At the top, it's correct. The
So
attendees.
I think it's just 7C.
Okay.
That spelling has to be corrected. Is there any other changes anyone thinks should be made? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes,
I make a motion we approve.
subject to the correction of the
Uh-huh.
spelling on 7C? Is there a second to that one?
Oh, I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now we move into the old business. First item is the Arbor Day Earth Day. And I think Chad wants to start this off.
Yeah. So I've been meeting, had some meetings with Steve and John, or not, excuse me, Rich and John over the past few weeks to try to work on planning this event. And one of the things I've told them and reminded them that, you know, when we look at vendors, when we look at event dates and calendars and all this, it needs to be done by the town. Since the staff liaison is me for this was an approved event by the council for the proclamation, the event in the park, and the budget. I will be carrying out and kind of overseeing everything as we get this approved, such as invitations and vendors and stuff like that. I've worked on ordering. All the bags are in. We've got 4 Amazon boxes. I'm going to double check that today. But the bags are in. I'm getting stuff ordered. I've worked on. I've got to get up to Hughes and Hughes next week to look at getting plants scheduled and ordered. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there. So if anybody just has any questions, come see me on that. This is the vendor list that I have approved so far, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll take one if you want to pass that down and look at it, and kind of go from there. The other thing is the date for the park. We have approved for April the 22nd. I think the rain out date was tentatively for April 29th, and there's a wedding in the park that day. I have the calendar. If you're looking for a Friday, we would need to move into May, which would be the 6th of May. If you wanted to do it in the middle of the week, that following the 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th, which would be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, would be available. So if you would like to discuss throw out some dates, and I can see if they're available for the rain out date in case this event has to be moved.
Any discussion?
The benefits of midweek over a Wednesday, for example. Is that what you're saying, a Wednesday?
I mean, I have the calendar.
After,
If
okay.
there's a, do we want to keep it on a Friday specifically?
So I originally we put it on a Friday because we were hoping school kids would come.
Right.
Timing didn't work out for us at spring break for the county, I guess, or the area.
Right.
I don't know how schools feel about field trips on a Wednesday after spring break.
The biggest thing with field trips is the short notice and still the COVID lapse we're in with that.
That won't be a factor for us,
Correct.
then, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with.
Steve, have any of these exhibitors been advised of a rain date? Would it be worthwhile to ask any of them? Could they still come if it was an
Oh God,
alternative?
no more coordinating with them. I'm sorry.
Well, the thing is, not much point to have a rain date and nobody's going to be there.
Right. Yeah.
So you may be
That's
better
valid.
off.
How far out is the rain date from the?
I think it was the Friday. So we had it tentatively on the 22nd. I think we were looking at the following Friday, which was the 29th, for a rain out date. Obviously, the 29th is no longer there. Then you have the 30th, which is that Saturday, which is run Sunset Beach. The 23rd is open, which is a Saturday.
My personal opinion would be to do the weekend because then you get more people to
The
show up.
only problem with the weekend is staff issues.
Okay.
And I know we're going to rely heavily on, I'm going to end up being there. I think I'm out of town that weekend. But also you have Public Works that's going to help us prepare some stuff, especially in the park as well. So
Okay.
the Saturday would be a good option. I think probably in the year's future where we have more time to plan.
Right.
But the staff would be the biggest thing.
And then to Candace's point, a couple of these are actually paid professionals,
Yeah.
the points of contact, so they may not
Yeah, that's
want
true.
to do a 6-day week either.
That's true.
Had we discussed the rain date with anybody?
Yeah, I think
Oh.
originally we did. Cause
Well, I
looked
think
at
we
the
had
20
discussed it here, but I don't think it had been discussed.
That's what I
with
wonder
any
about any of
exhibitor.
these
Okay.
exhibitors.
I thought when I made the presentation to the council, I put in there the tentative date with the 22nd, with the rain date is the 29th. But that doesn't have to be re-brought back to council. It's just we need to make the rain out date as a board, figure out what's best for the event overall.
So May 6th would be the following Friday.
That's what I would try
Or
to
the
do.
Yeah,
2
the
weeks
May
later.
6th would be 2 Fridays after that.
I'd probably try
Is
to
that
do it.
Mother's Day weekend?
Hold on, I'll let you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, you better
Maybe
know.
it is.
You better know that.
Also, can Hughes and Hughes hold the plants for 2 extra weeks?
I haven't spoken to them yet, so that would be something I would
Yeah.
need to
Except the water.
contact. But I will say this, let's see, May the 6th, that is Mother's Day weekend. Staff will be here that Friday, so it's not a holiday. So, but the Friday before it, obviously, is Good Friday,
Right,
So-
the 15th, right?
the 15th.
Friday before what?
The Friday before the event.
Oh,
would be
okay.
Good
Okay,
Friday.
I got you.
So,
You lost me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't
I
do
don't.
it. You can't do a rain
I,
date.
I'm kind of
ahead
on
of the event.
I like Candace's idea. I think that is a good thought. Like, can the vendors be there? But if you're trying to pick a perfect date for all these vendors to be there, you're never going to
No.
find one. So I think there's a balance to be had there.
I guess my point would be you're better off, at least they're committing they could do a Friday. Where a
Oh,
lot
good
of people
point. Mhm.
can't do a
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
For exactly the reason Chad's suggesting for staff here.
I will also say, let's see, 22nd. So if you do the 25th, 26th, 27th,
Are you
28th,
in town?
any of those dates, I don't think I
weeks
have any
later.
conflicts as far as meetings, as
Oh,
far as
weird.
planning board or anything like that. You do have the market where it starts running through, starting in May on the 5th and running every Thursday through into the summer. So there are things that, but most of it is the calendar's wide open. So it would be if it's a Friday, it would either be the 6th. It would run into May, starting with the 6th, or if it just wants to be a day of the week, that whole week behind it is open except for that Friday.
Well, it's
Can't you just
kind
do
of
it another
ironic.
way?
We're doing this on National Earth Day. National Labor Day is the 29th. We can't do that day. Maybe the 28th would be.
What's Arbor Day?
Memorial
10
Day.
to 2.
Memorial
Which
Day.
is Arbor Day?
National Arbor Day is the 29th.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna die.
Well, I would defer to you guys.
So I like we will both be here. The 6th, as long as the local community doesn't get confused with the market beginning the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there'll be banners all over the fence out there.
Now, I will say this, the prep before, I mean, this would probably be tougher with the market in the park, but I think we could probably make it work.
And then too, I guess if people were at the market and they would see what's this big hole over here in the ground, why are these trees here? Perhaps entice them to come back.
It's like I said, the pleasure of the board and just providing y'all the information to make
Okay.
the best decision for the event.
You know, it makes sense to me that the holes are pre-dug, but then you may want to do this before the market so people aren't, so that you don't have 2 weeks between having this big hole in the ground.
Oh.
Somebody will get hurt.
Yeah,
I
Site
think,
prep should be done the day before.
Okay.
So we'll kind of know what the,
With the market.
well, not
What
what
the weather-
what the weather's going to hopefully be. I know that's a tough job for anybody to predict the weather, but
Oh,
I think that the day after the market's good because people will be curious. We'll see.
if we have to delay it, yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
we don't have to
so
delay.
2 weeks, May the 6th.
That's what I would say.
Do I have a motion for that? Is there any other discussion?
No, a second the motion.
I make the motion.
Or May 6th?
May 6th.
May
As
6th.
a
Rain out
rain
day.
out day, yes.
And a second that. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 May 6th is our rain out day.
Okay.
Chad, do you have any other points to discuss?
No, sir, not until the recycling subcommittee.
Rich, do you have anything to,
I think everything's coming along. We're still, I think, the county or the town may have a presence at the event also.
I will.
Okay.
I will, and I'm going to speak to police and fire for this as well. So
You think Public Works could be there?
they'll be there probably in some capacity. So talk to Dustin as well. So
Yeah, because if the information's there, Dustin could say,
I'll talk to
please
Matt.
keep your trash out of your ditches or something. Or
Yeah, I
maybe-
mean that might be something. I'll talk to Matt and see if he's interested in sitting with me that day as I will talk about.
Okay.
Use it as a flood event for information. He might be able to do the same for stormwater. So.
So can I make a request that I think it's a great idea to have the police and the fire there. And can you just put us right next to them? Because that was a big draw at sunset, wasn't it? They all
That's
came over
good.
to meet the police and then stop.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because our church had a trunk or treat or Halloween, and they had a fire truck there and a police car there. That's kind of a big draw with the kids too.
If you
I love
bring
fire trucks.
donuts, that might help.
okay,
So
Oh, I do have a question, Donna, Candace. So Candace had the idea 3 or 4 months ago to have 2 tables. That's what's a question for you, also, Chad. To display what can be recycled and what cannot be recycled. Are you still planning on that?
We would like to do that. One of the questions we have as part of when we get to the recycling is what facilities will be available for us so we know what to plan.
Okay.
So tables, chairs.
Yeah,
Do you need a couple recycling bins or?
Yeah,
it'd be
that
great to have a recycling bin.
I will. That's one of the things I've not had the discussion with Dustin yet about that I just kind of thought of that probably needs to happen sooner or later.
Mhm.
You know, we get into the discussion of how are we going to set this up, and maybe even start forming a site plan of what will be available where.
That'll be good.
Type thing.
I think
So
that's
I
great.
think that's
Yeah.
something that
So when we walk the park with Dustin,
Yeah.
a lot of people will be, no, I shouldn't say this.
If you're there
So-
right after the market, they'll have their spaces laid out.
Nice.
They go in there and mark.
well, the market is only going to come into play with
Oh,
this
May
if we
6th,
get
right.
to the rain
Yeah,
out
yeah,
date.
yeah.
Previous, the market doesn't start till once we get into
Yeah.
May.
Yeah, I'm guessing
right.
they may possibly have it. But a lot of people will come in, grab a bag, grab a ceiling, and leave. Well, that's not what we want, right?
And
So
most,
I would suggest we be inside the park, even a little bit farther away from the tree planting still. So maybe that's where it would start. You know how the grocery stores do it. If you want this, you have to go all the way around the store.
That's right.
That's
No.
usually how they lay out the market, and it works.
Oh,
well.
it is? Okay, right, yeah.
So I guess as you have those meetings and decide how it will be set up and what facilities are available, let us know so we know
and that's
what
something,
to plan to bring.
and that's something I can do outside of this meeting. It does
Yeah.
not have to be.
Right, I don't think we can
inside of-
decide it today, but
Yeah.
as you
No.
guys work on that.
Yes.
We can meet for a walk over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Walk in the park.
my only other comment was, I mean, I brainstorm, so and it's the first one, so we can make mistakes and things
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
But my thought, because I've been involved in a lot of public sector shows outside of this, outside of environmental shows, So what kind of people are you trying to attract? Just people that believe in the environment or other people that are curious? So, I had the idea of inviting environmentally, not a ton, a few environmental artists or whatever that can sell things. And I had people that had recycled clothes, art made out of plants. And again, this is a brainstorm. It's not like,
We won't hold you to it.
and then, so if I'm coming to an event, like if I'm trying to attract my wife, I think, or other people, why would I go outside of this, which is great? Is there something to buy? Is there something to eat? Is there something? And I'm not saying you bring in like 50 vendors or 50, just something to think about. I mean, do you want to have like a food truck? Do you want to have a couple vendors? I don't want to say the mistake. Him and I talked about, we invited a brewery to come. Now you could say, no way, we're not going to do that. But my only point is there are people that are interested. And I don't want to get into heavy duty, because we don't have a lot of time, but my only thought is that something we want to do or not do and just keep it the way it is here? Or do you want to add a couple of those people?
For this year or next year?
Maybe next year. I don't know. But, I'm just, like I said, my engine and my brain's constantly thinking about that kind of stuff.
Well, just since we're brainstorming, I'm like your wife. If there was an environmental artist there, that'd be the first place I'm going.
My wife.
Or some of the plant artists, because we've got plants
So-
there.
On the recycling side, okay, it gives you an opportunity now. We don't want someone to produce a bunch of trash or whatever. But at the same time, you have recycling and you say, okay, you force these people to recycle so they think about it. And I've talked to people about recycling, my neighbors and everything. They have misconceptions about it, right? They watched 60 Minutes episode, they saw this, but that's the only thing I'm saying is, do you want to add a couple extra people in that? I don't even know if we can find them at this point, but that's just,
Oh,
I'm not.
well, I like this idea. Now, to be sure, after it's over, there'll be some things. Boy, I wish we hadn't done that, or
Right,
we wish
right.
we'd. That's just, and I hope we or you two or somebody can get together right after the event and do kind of a evaluation when it's fresh and for next year. Because but I like the general idea. And I was going to mention, my wife has a purse made of recycled
Pop tops.
pop tops, and somebody made a purchase. She bought it at I think at Ocean Isle Beach Market last summer. So that's one example of using clothes or whatever that from recycled stuff.
So if I could add something,
Yeah.
the Restore or the Habitat for Humanity that Steve invited, they are a not-for-profit,
Mhm.
reusable recycling
I'm
place.
so glad they're going to be there.
Yeah.
It is. So it's obvious when there's a plant artist.
Mhm.
I guess Steve and I have talked about this. Are we allowed to, if we invite a local plant artist or a local recycler person making purses, do we have to let the next person who's making recycled purses in also, or can we be exclusive with our? So that's why it was back in Ohio also. You had to, if you opened up to a peace rally, you had to
Yeah.
open up to a hate rally, basically.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
and that's the educational part of this I think is the bigger part, and I think we all had the idea of this being the inaugural event. The next year is going to be how we could, one, do it better, and two, have a whole year to be able to plan this. And I think when Rich and John and I originally sat down with this, I know Steve, you were out of town, one of the things I think I talked to Rich and Steve about was sponsorships and how to go about doing that. And I think that is something all of us are on board with next year,
Yeah.
because they even brought in Lisa, our town administrator, finance director at the time, until Tara came back, was how to go about taking in money as far as sponsorships and what that looks like on a government level.
Yeah.
I think that is where we want to be. I think this year with the short-term version of it,
Mhm.
we need to make the decision, and I think we need to have the whole year to plan. Do we want to do this as an educational opportunity, or educational and or a market opportunity as well? And I think that's the decision that we're going to have to make going into 2023.
I would dare say that somebody like Publix or Food Lions would be happy to give us some money if we get their name on a bag.
Well, I
That's for
think
next year.
Next
I
year.
think there is a nonprofit that has already kind of
We have to have.
taken a design and put it on a recycle bag.
Cool.
I dare say they might go faster than the ones we ordered.
I'd say
But it
they-
also could be an opportunity for us to have our own brand
Right.
of a recycling bag
Yeah.
as well. So, but you're exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, you're able to take that, factor in the cost with putting a brand logo on it, such as a Food Line,
Yeah.
Publix, or real estate office, or
Whatever.
a brewery,
Yeah.
that type thing, and market that. And that's kind of where we need
Yeah.
and want to be.
Yeah, get the brewery to give out growlers.
That's right. That's right. There you go, man.
Uh,
Now you're talking.
I'm just happened yesterday, sitting in my car. BEMC has contacted us back, right? BEMC,
Yeah.
and so, and she's the admin assistant to the CEO, but she's also chairperson of the giving group or something like that.
Right.
Do you want us to? What should I do with the information I get from her? If she says, "What would you? Do you want a sponsorship, partnership? Do you want donations? How do I?"
They've got money for this kind of stuff. I know they
They
do.
do.
Well,
They
yeah,
do.
yeah, I know, but again,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm sure I'm not in charge of
Can
taking any
you-
money in
Can you send me the information
as soon as I get it.
and can kind of let me talk to Lisa about that? I mean, do they want to do something this year, or is it more in the future?
Yeah, she said they'll get right on it. I think what the
Okay.
text was. She was out of office yesterday, so
So yeah, we can scramble pretty fast. If they're willing to make a kind of a donation of this, we can kind of scramble the best way we can to recognize them and or work on, putting the money back toward this event. As I think we've talked about that in a year and don't think we expected it in 3 months. But I can talk to Lisa how we can scramble and rally around that if we need to be. So,
okay.
all right.
So one thing too, when you have giveaways, I'm used to giveaways.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where, it's, and the only comment I make on that is, and I don't have an answer for this because this is different,
Yeah.
but you just don't want to push people swarm and grab everything. And Rich brought up and run. You want them to go do something. And
Mhm.
I don't know what that something is. I have to come up with it in my mind. But like if they all show up and everyone grabs a plant and just jumps in their car and leaves. I've been to events with K through 12 where all the teachers come in and hoard everything, and you have all these things. They grab it all, put it in the bag, and run out the door, and they don't pay attention. So I don't know how you
Yeah,
accomplish
the-
it here. So
the-
like I don't know if you'll get a swarm of people. I don't know, but
The recycling bags, I think we've briefly talked about that, probably being a hot item as like making sure they don't disappear by 11.
Yeah.
If they do, it's great. If they distribute, but the other thing is the seedlings. Those can be a hot item as well. But I've also seen them where I've passed them out to students and they got a stick to carry home on the bus. So, we'll just have to.
or maybe you say like, look, if you go see 3 people, go see 3 booths, and you listen to what they have to say, then you come back
Yeah.
and you pick up a plant.
that type of thing. And I
Yeah.
think that's
That'd be great.
where we
Maybe
get
maybe
into.
for future, do like a passport kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, they just get a little stamp
Yeah.
from everybody that's there.
or
and
tickets.
everybody-
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but
Uh,
You better write that down. Passport.
And I-
2023.
I
2020.
got a passport
I think that's again what Don stated earlier. I think this is where we get into this worked really well. We did this really badly,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and we
Sure.
did this really great.
Yeah.
So, and I
Sure.
think we're going to have we're going to have an idea after we get through this first event of.
So I would suggest, since I'm not sure how many bags we have, but 1 bag per family, as
Yeah.
of course, because the other charitable group is giving bags also
Well.
for the first year. Same with the seedling, and then at the end of the event, if we have 50
Well.
seedlings left over, then it's.
Having not been involved in the details of this, I feel good about it, recognizing it's the first time things are going to go wrong, things are going to go right. But I get a good feeling about it.
Good.
I hope. I think.
You'll be there.
We've had a lot of discussion here. from where I sit, we have to decide if we want this to be essentially an educational event, or we want to pull in some marketing features with it.
Well, isn't marketing education?
Well, we also have a month to pull all this together.
Right.
And all the work that's been done to date has been more along the lines of an educational program.
I think you're kind of making the distinction as educational or entertainment. Like Sunset at Sunset, there's a lot of education there, but it's really there, it's entertainment. And I kind of like your focus this year. If it's education, let's leave it at that and learn for next year.
I personally think, in events too, we need to come up with what's the objective.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, and you're saying education, but what do we want to accomplish? And, my mind is you want to educate the local community on earth and environment, right, or whatever.
Right.
So how do you do that? And I mean, we didn't have enough time to do that this time, but I'm just saying that. And as a result, I mean, I reached out. I was proactive. He was proactive. And we kind of maybe, like I said, we didn't do necessarily all the correct things, but we did what we thought was the right thing. And if you have a goal, like here's who I'm trying to attract. So we want to do education. Who are we trying to attract? All the local people moving here, vacationers, people that you want to, and then you kind of set it up based on attracting those people.
Right.
I kind of look like fishing. What type of fish I'm going to try to attract? So I use different bait when I put it on my hook.
Yeah.
And one of the things as much as I like the brewery idea, I think that's a good step moving forward. What we didn't plan into this was there's police factors that fall into that we didn't get approved by the town council.
Right.
So that's one of the bigger things that contributed into that.
I've done a major event in the past, and we had a beer garden roped off, and if the event went on for 20 years or so, if we brought in a vendor, that meant police officers had to stand out at every entrance, huge park. So there were probably 30 policemen out there, because you were not allowed to carry in a cooler of beer. So, and I don't know what the rule is here.
So
in North Carolina. So
yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just want to let you know that, this is outside of that. North Carolina passed a law where you can have districts inside cities now. I don't know about towns where you can carry beer, but it has to be provided by a vendor. So you're not,
No.
and so like in Greensboro, they just started March 1st, where all of downtown, if you buy like a beer at any of the vendors, you can walk outside up and down the sidewalks. It's called the entertainment district.
Yeah, and planning for that, I think, is where we're short time.
Right. I
on
agree.
that.
I agree.
That's the biggest thing at that.
But, I agree.
Because I think I met with that particular brewery the day before
Yeah.
and had a great meeting with him. So there is planning stuff in the works. So, but yeah, it's more of a, what are we looking for this year?
Mhm.
And time is and it's not really, it's kind of like, late in a basketball game. It's not really on our side right now when we're down by 10. So that's that's where we're kind of at moving forward. I think we all have aspirations of what this event could and hopes to be.
Yeah.
It's right now it's kind of staying grounded on the inaugural event and learning from these things we did great on, and finding the list of learning from what we do really not so great on. So
Yeah, and one other thing too, on that, and I'll be quiet. Next year, I mean, you could even have like a 5K, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's companies that and the only reason I say that, on a weekend you'll get 500 people that are runners, and they're all environmentally sensitive and all that stuff. Most of the ones I know are, except they drink beer.
And they
But no, but my point is, like, you got a company that I ran in the half marathon. I finished second. There's like 2,000 runners.
Oh, well.
I'm bragging. No, I'm joking. I did. I finished second in my age group. But my point is it's turnkey, and they're a cost center, so you don't have to pay them to come here. Now you have to provide police, but they manage that whole thing. They set up the course and everything. But I can't, I mean, I think it'd be fantastic because they have that one race, you have a 5K, and at the end of the 5K, they all spill into the park and they're all walking around all the exhibits. and
So
everything.
you would pay the race directors?
Yeah, they manage the whole thing.
Okay, but you pay for it, right? Is
No,
that-
we don't pay for it. No, they come in, they set up the whole thing, they run.
and they
the whole-
charge the
They
runners,
charge all the
okay.
money and everything. Now you could probably say, okay, there's a $5 surcharge
Right.
per entry that goes towards the town of Sunset Beach.
And then if you wanted to do a much smaller one, inaugural one that kids run,
You could.
right around the
yes.
park. I'm not sure how safe it would be, but around the park.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
like
already,
that
it's
takes-
all mapped
that
out. They
takes-
already have mapped out all the stuff because they do them. I'm just saying you'll get all kinds of people show up for that, is my point.
All
So
right.
yeah, I
How
think
about
back
as
to-
we
back
move,
We're,
A
we're,
lot for next year.
yeah, we're
Next year,
talking about
next
a
year,
lot of
yeah.
stuff for
Next
Yeah.
year.
I think
next
we're
year.
gonna,
For this year,
So,
what are we talking about? We want to stay focused on,
yeah, I
What we
think that
have-
would be,
or do we want to expand it?
I would say as the staff liaison, I think we need to stay with the educational, with
Stay
the broader
focused.
aspect
Okay.
of what this could be in a
Make a
year or
motion,
two.
you want me to?
We
I make
have
a-
an impressive list of people who already
Oh.
who've
It-
confirmed. That's great.
I want
It's
to,
really great.
I just got a
You guys did a
email.
good job.
I just got an email from Twin Lakes Conservation Association.
Oh, okay.
Mila Millman,
Mhm.
you know Mila?
Yeah.
She has asked if they could be part of the event.
Good.
So the one thing Rich pointed out, which I think is really, really relevant about the education piece, is I think we need to be real specific. In other words, if you walk in and there's all booths and they're just handing out stuff, I think they should come prepared to actually educate people. In other words, if Habitat for Humanity is standing there, if they're just handing out, here's the services we have, and they have a pamphlet or whatever, that's breaking the recycling, make the page. But my point is, they should be prepared to have a skit or a little play or show or demonstration or what, so people actually will sit there and listen to them and learn something, rather than having a bunch of booths where people just walk through and all they well, here's what we do. Okay, that's cool, and then they walk to the next one.
So how we approached all of these vendors was it needed to be interactive, tactile display. You need to touch something. You need to discuss something. You need to actually be active. It's not, here's the information, walk away, here's the information. So, and every group in here knows they need to do, are going to do that. The only one I have not heard back from are the Girl Scouts.
Cookies. No, joking.
Gosh, yeah.
They're selling them.
Well, yeah, you get this much packaging.
I think if I can, try to end on this, I think there is two examples of what I think this could look like. And I've got some homework for y'all if y'all want to provide me some feedback. If you look up, the city of Wilmington or New Hanover County does a Fire in the Pines festival. It's
Fire in
very
the Pines, right.
similar to what I had, originally envisioned this would look like. Educational, kind of like Steve said, see, touch, feel, and information. The other one is, like a Sunset at Sunset, or your festival market type thing. We do have markets in the town that set up weekly, and moving forward, do we want to do like a vendor's educational market, or do we want to keep it something like Fire in the Pines? I encourage you to look up both of those, and just if you would, just kind of email me your feedback on that or what you think that could look like, and then go from there. I like the idea. It's like the touch, feel, look, and educational, and then let's move forward with next year looking at how we can broader expand this and make it bigger and better.
So for this year, back to John's point, are you waiting for a motion to make it educational this year?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion, we keep it educational for 2022, focused education for 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. This Twin Lakes Conservation Association, I think
Oh, okay.
they would be very welcome to.
So did you talk to her? Is that how they
No, I
heard
live
about
on
it?
Twin Lakes and I'm part of that conservation.
Good. So you brought it up with, I made
She
that
got it.
assumption.
No, actually,
That's great.
this
No, I didn't
person-
reach out to them.
Oh,
I hadn't thought
Oh,
of
you
it.
did too.
this
I
person
hadn't
is a
thought.
member of Sunset Vision,
Okay.
and this was
That's going to be a great
discussed.
asset.
Sunset Vision discussed this. They'll be an exhibitor, and she asked if the Conservation Association could do
And
this.
this is how you
So-
grow, right? The word gets out there. People see it's a successful event, and yeah, and if they're focused on education,
So,
it'll go that way.
and I got to talk while there's stuff coming to my brain, or I'll forget to spit it out.
What's our contact?
We created not knowing, the rules and everything, but
I'll forward it.
put
to
a
you.
Facebook invite out. I know John did, but
Mhm.
my point is that's a tremendous way of letting everybody know about it. But I would be very detailed and tell everybody on there. I'd have a list of the vendors or the providers and what they're going to talk about.
Okay.
And
And I can-
and so, like, for example, Habitat for Humanity is going to discuss, recycling of, I don't know, whatever.
So yeah.
You
So
know,
what
that
I'll
way
do.
people read it, they'll go, yeah, that's cool. I
my-
want to go see
yeah,
that.
and I have it on my whiteboard in my office. So by the end of the week, hope to have that event created,
I'll get as much information to you as possible.
and
about
then
what they're
I
doing.
will send that information to y'all where y'all can look it up on Facebook, make it public, and where y'all can share it.
So you can invite all your friends.
Yes,
And
it's a great tool, great
Yeah.
marketing tool.
it's free.
It's free, and it will be officially from.
There's also another website called Neighborhood. It's a neighborhood community thing. It's I have it.
Nextdoor.com.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's free too.
Okay. All right.
And you're going to get more people from that than anything else.
All right.
All right, so you brought up a good point about Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, How are we going to do Facebook?
So I will create the event on behalf of from the Town of Sunset Beach Facebook page. And what I can do is provide y'all how it's listed. Y'all can look it up, and then you can share it.
So you will take from what Steve drafted and I drafted.
And John and Rich as well.
Mine was very cryptic, by the way. It was very simple.
Yeah.
I just put it
But
there.
when you get that completed, we have to then delete ours.
That's fine. You can delete it in 2
Because
seconds.
Yeah.
it's got to be from the town.
Right.
And we both learned that the hard way.
But you can delete it. It's just, I think if you have some content in there,
And I will. And I can edit that as we go along as well.
and yeah, it's,
Okay. Is there anything else we need to discuss on this? Okay, the next item is the recycling subcommittee.
Candace and I met 2 or 3 times on this whole issue of promotion and what have you, and digested it down to bullet points here that I had Chad put into the packet. And these are pretty well self-explanatory. We've talked about some of them a little bit already. I wanted to hit the highlights here, and then Ms. Sieben can jump in as you see fit. She found a brochure from the city of Boulder, Colorado. Now, obviously, we are not Boulder, but it has a lot of things in it that we thought would be useful for us to prepare for Sunset Beach. Now, I don't know if we can get that done in time for the Earth Day, because it's going to require some probably publisher and some other things, and we're going to have to take out the mountains and change.
But this goes back to what we reviewed at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Remember, I think you guys got a packet of
Yeah.
what we had looked at. So they've seen
Yeah.
kind of that brochure, and where we're hung up now is just, I think you were going to look to see if there was a vendor, somebody who could work with that could produce these documents. And the thought is, if we can't get them done for Earth Day, maybe we'll have them for next year. But we have brochures and things from the county that we can use, but we still want to do our display of, here's the bin, here's what can go in there, here's what don't put it in there, you know. So the thing that's on those magnets, to have some physical examples there and be able to talk to that.
So the brochure, beautiful, yeah, well done, well done, right, with everything on there. Are there 3 or 4 things that you think apply specifically to the people at the event that you would focus? And if you can't get this done this year,
I didn't bring my stuff with me. I'm sure there are, because it covers a lot of information on how much we Colorado recycles and where it goes and what's not recyclable and all that. Now, granted, Boulder's a very green city, but still the idea is basically the same. And I don't recall the recycling.
Is that the question you're asking, though? I'm not sure.
so I'm asking if it was eye-opening, right? That how much trash goes in. But the question I had from 3 people at the gym, is China still buying our recycling? We heard it just goes mainstream. So that would be question number 1.
Which is kind of what's on that the document that I just passed down for Steve, which is,
Oh, okay.
what happened, if you look on that, is, I think the main thing, one of the second thing on there is what happened with China.
Right, yeah. So that's what brought this question.
Well,
because I learned from that too. So if you had just instead of a paragraph, if you can't publish the whole brochure, publish this is the truth, cite
I wouldn't mind having this as a handout if we can't do anything else. 2 pages, so it's a lot. But I think these are the questions people ask, and if they came up and were asking, well, what about this or that, this would be a document we could easily hand to
covers
them.
most of
And
it.
so,
Okay.
so that there are some things that are done that we would just need to print, or with the county to get their brochure that lists, here's the sites that you can go to if you don't want
Right,
to do
yeah.
curbside.
Right.
So
Do you have the ability to sign up people midterm for the recycling?
people can sign up. They just
So
have
do
to see
we-
where to go on the website.
So maybe we hand out a form or something or sign up instructions.
That's a good point. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I think people I talk to, I ask everybody I come in contact with, do you recycle? I'm like,
Yeah.
in my hometown I do, but not here. And I'm like, why? I said, they don't really have a reason other than they usually say, well, they don't. I heard they just dump it in the same spot they dump the
Right.
garbage. I'm like, that's not true, but I don't debate with them on it, but
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
over time I'm gonna make it easier for them to.
You're
sign
not
up.
alone. I talked to a guy pretty good while back, and I said, "Well, we don't recycle." I said, "Well, who told you that?" I said, "Well, my brother-in-law, and he knows everything." So
Right.
there you go. You know.
Yeah, I heard that.
So Candace, one of the things that I signed up for almost 20 years ago was the direct marketing, the DMA.
Mm-hmm.
So you're off of that list, and we go a week at a time without getting any junk, without getting any.
Well, and that was one of the pages in that
Yeah.
the thing from last time, is that's to tell people how to eliminate their junk mail.
They used to have cards. The post office had cards that you would just fill out the card and it would go back automatically. I don't know if the post office.
I don't
had
know,
it.
and the thing I saw most recently for was it for them? It's or maybe it's a different service, but there's now a charge, and they keep you on their list for like 5 years or something. It might be it's minimal. It's like $2, but
Okay.
so if there's something like that, post office probably doesn't do that.
In the packet of information you pulled together, there's some stuff on how to get off the junk mail list, and
Yeah.
I've got that somewhere. I need to pull
Well,
that together.
it's in the packet. I think it's in that packet from
Yeah, it is.
last
The
time.
DMA is.
I have a good way to
DMA
do
is in
it.
there.
No, it's not really getting off it. Just stop your mail for 30 days, and you come back and you just throw it in the garbage.
Yeah.
No, you recycle
Yeah.
it all. You recycle it
Yeah.
all.
We want to prevent it
I
from
know, I
even
know,
being
I know.
published, right? Yeah.
It's the reduce. I mean, that was
Yeah, I
one of our
know.
examples for reduce.
Right, yeah,
Don't get
it's
the
great.
stuff to start.
So just to move forward to the next item there, the borrow
Well,
recycle.
before you go on
Oh,
from
I'm sorry.
that, do we have somebody we can work with?
So I had talked to Don briefly about this last week, and my apologies to both of you for failing to reach out to you. It's been a crazy week. This
Yeah.
week of every month is probably my most crazy. So I will get with y'all right after, before y'all leave.
Okay.
I'm going to schedule a day next week to sit
Okay.
down with both of you.
Okay.
I do have accessibility to publisher,
Mhm.
so I might try to create this in-house and try to have something for you.
Okay.
I'd like to work and try to dedicate some of my time to get this done. in-house by the time we get to before the Earth Day Arbor Day. That way we can have that for you and tailored to the town and kind of go from there. And then spend the money maybe on printing and stuff like that. I do have a buddy that is a roommate of mine from college who does graphic design. So I might reach out to him for some pointers or what
That would be
if
great.
there's anything he may be able to do. I don't know what his fee is or how that aesthetics of that works, but I'll sit down with you next week and we'll make that
Okay.
appointment. So that will take care of the brochure. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that I did talk to Don about this. Did not put it specifically on here. Is the website. Is that the town is spending money and budgeting to redo the website.
Good.
Oh, that's
So-
wonderful.
So I knew Don
Yeah.
said that you would be really thrilled with that.
Yeah.
And then also I'm working on, I've got to revamp my floodplain part of the website,
Mhm.
and we can work out looking the recycling.
Good.
So both of those are in the works.
Right.
It's not going to be, it's kind of like I tell my planning board with the UDO, it won't be 2 years, but they are having meetings
In
and
process.
throwing money into the
Good.
website portion, which will help things into the future.
Yeah.
Well,
we need that.
and I think Candace appreciate that, Chad.
Yeah.
It was the website needed help. I'll just
It does, and I think the councilman Hargraves
Mhm.
made a voice to that when we had our first budget meeting, our very first one a couple weeks ago. That was one of the things he brought up. He goes, "I think we need to look at spending money into the website and revamping it," and they've already started having meetings
Good.
on that.
yeah.
One thing I would ask, if we can do, we have a portal for our whole committee, and the other thing would be
Mhm.
potential blog where we can, create. When I say blog, it's kind of like write articles and data and information and videos that we can put on there that people can see. That's
Yeah.
part of just the environment, ERC separate,
Yeah, so
as a wing of
such
that.
as my floodplain part of the,
Yeah.
you have to have, there's mandatory things for programs that the town is involved in that have to be readily available as far as links in there. I think,
Because there's some fantastic YouTube videos
Yeah.
on
Maybe-
everything.
Yeah.
And we can pick them as a team, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying you can post them on there and people can see. Or you can have a blog. You can create a blog, about the environment or about recycling.
Those are good ideas. Maybe we put that on the agenda for next month,
Okay.
coming up with some ideas for an ERC page on the website.
Yeah, again, I think that's good. It's not going to move forward quick. Is that
Right.
budget year will start July through June, and I know that again the town's working on that. I know that it's probably every bit of a 6 to 8 month process to get that officially done, and it could be longer. I don't know. I'm not a part of it really, but I can ask the questions.
Good.
It's
But
just good we're starting.
yes,
Okay.
it's good
Going
to
the
start.
right way.
So
We already have an ERC page on the website. We already have a recycling page on the website. They need to be improved.
Yeah.
We all agree with that.
Yeah.
But we can create QR codes for each of those, as we did for the recycling page.
Yeah.
That QR code can go in the brochure.
Yeah, the
And as
QR, that was interesting to just click on it. That's not something I do. I mean, I see them all over the place. I'm doing a project at the county botanical gardens right now where they're putting QR codes on all the plants. It's just not, I'm not that generation,
not
but
your-
there's plenty of people that are.
Right. It's just another, when
But
you,
that was useful, and I think it would be great if we're going to do the people being able to sign up for recycling at this event, to have the QR code that they can scan, so it brings it right up for them if they want to do it online.
well, I mean,
I thought that
we
was a good idea.
can make QR codes very
Yeah.
easily. And we can create a code, and we can put that in the brochure too.
Sure, I think
You
that's
want
a
to know
great
about
idea.
recycling? Go here. You want to sign up for recycling? Go here.
Hmm.
So,
That makes it
So
very
you get all these
specific to
people moving
Sunset
here,
Beach.
and if somebody moves here, it'd be good to give them something either electronically, an email, so welcome to the town of Sunset Beach. here are the 5 things you should do. Number 1, go to the beach. Number 2, sign up for recycling.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
link.
If
I'm
you're
just
on
saying
the
you
island,
can,
get your hurricane
you have a
pass.
chance
I
because
never
you got
heard
these
of
people
that.
coming in from all over that are
Yeah.
used to. I mean, you're going to have what 30,000 new homes or what something ridiculous built in the next 10 years, and
Well-
it's a good chance to train them.
Steve, could you bring some ideas to the next meeting for an ERC page?
Sure.
So we can talk about that at that time.
Okay.
Getting back to the
memo here. Item bullet point 2. We sort of talked about this. Ms. Bozeman has a lot of materials that we could use as giveaways. She's got a large poster board that it's an enlargement of part of the magnet that we could use as a display, showing what you can recycle and not recycle, and what have you. So the magnets we've had to.
So she's agreed to let us use it?
Yeah, she's agreed to let us borrow
Good.
it. And she got giveaways such as the magnets and the bag, those reusable bags. Candace goes out there fairly often, so one day soon, I
I
guess,
hope I'm going up tomorrow. I
Okay.
should be going up there tomorrow.
is
It's not
pick up
raining.
that stuff from Mickey. So she's very happy that we're doing this, because she sees this as we're on the same team kind of thing, So she's very cooperative. Point 4, the little library. We had talked about this, and Candace had mentioned, what was it? You said somebody took all the books or something?
Oh, there's just an interesting, maybe some of you guys saw it. It was an article on free libraries, and this lady was saying she has a little free library. She has one at her end of the community, and a friend has one at the other end. And they kind of promote it and got a sign on it, little free library. 2 ladies started showing up every single week and took every single book out of there. And she went out to kind of confront. She's like, they took so much stuff, we know they're just reselling it somewhere, which isn't the idea. And so she went out to say, the intention is to share here. And the lady goes, it says free, so you got nothing to say about it. And,
the library.
and legally they were told, as long as you've got that word free on there, then nothing you can do.
Well,
So they had to take that away and then
Well-
put some little thing like on the door, the door or something on it saying, this is a sharing for the community. Take one, leave one. Yeah.
Just put a sign on there that says under camera surveillance.
that's right.
Didn't
right.
matter. Those
Sticker.
ladies knew they were under surveillance. They didn't care. It said free.
Well,
They were correct. You have to be really careful.
Free little libraries are wonderful concepts. We've got a lot of books we could take down there. I'm sure everybody does that they've read and whatever. So, but you guys have already touched on this. We had suggested one in a large parking area at the southern end of where you go to the beach, and or one at the town park, and maybe more. And they're not real expensive to build or buy. Of course, the woods have gone through the roof now. No pun intended. But everybody's got books they want to get rid of. So that was the point. And finally,
Well,
well,
okay. Are we going to do this, or are we just going to promote it, or what are we going to do?
If I could add to this, Mo Spada,
Mhm.
she's a retired librarian. She has a box in front of her house. It still says Little Free Library. And she has I walk by there often. She has a group of ladies who will come in with books. And so they're either rotating their libraries or whatever. But I don't know. That's the only one I know in Sea Trail. She will be at the event. She is managing, directing, spearheading a book swap. So, and that's why when I get all of this together, to give to Chad, and we can, and I'll let Don know, and however it has to go through the board here, let the board know what's going on. That's one of the projects we're having, along with the plant swap, along with hopefully bird houses, bird feeders, those kind of things.
Okay, so we will have a little library
We will have some-
equivalent there.
good.
We will have someone representing a little library. And
Good.
she could tell you
Okay.
what's
Cool.
required.
Great minds think alike, I guess, huh?
Okay.
And finally, it's something, well, not finally, but next, pre-event publicity. Need to get our hands around that. And I'm pretty tight with the editor of the Brunswick Beacon, I've worked with her for years, and my ex-wife was a news editor up there back in the day, so I know how the beacon works. We might be able to sweet talk them into a story before the event, and probably we'll get them to come down the day of the event, because they came to something at the church that Sue had, the
So-
Labyrinth Wall.
So I guess you're asking, do you want Don's help with contacting the Beacon? Is there anything that he can do there to help with publicity?
No,
for the
we've
event?
already talked.
All publicity should go through the town.
Okay,
That's what I'm
That's cool.
I will
thinking,
say
right, Joe?
this. I'll say that as I'm listening, and yes.
okay.
But we have talked about there's money to get this advertised not only through Facebook, social media, do something in the Beacon, attach the invitation into the Beacon.
Good.
I think there would be a cool thing to get them to do a post story on this. I do see that, and whatever she would need, if you want to make that contact and how
I'll have her
that would look.
contact you.
Okay,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Laura and I got her to come out to something at our church a couple, 3 weeks ago. They're going to do something in Island Living for something entirely different. But that's good. And the last thing I had, it's not on here, is I had mentioned briefly at the earlier part of the meeting, I got the HOA newsletter person for our development to put something in the HOA newsletter about recycling, just a little bitty thing. And I sent it to the folks at CAM, and she said, "Oh yeah, we'd be glad to run that stuff." So there's nothing new in there. It's just basically taking stuff off of what's in the magnet and making a short, about 75-word summary of that. And she said, "I'd be happy to run it. I'd be happy to run something on Earth Day. Just the short details on it with who, what, where, and kind of thing." So,
Do you want to give us a contact that we can follow up with? Because
on
Camps.
yeah,
On
I know her. I mean, I could give it to her. We don't want both of us sending her stuff on the same thing, do we? Or do you?
Well, you're not
Well-
sending anything as part of ERC. You're just doing this as an individual,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you want us to go through you to,
Well, I mean, you can, but I was going to send it to Cam, and they will send it to all the
I
HOAs.
understand that, but do you want to be the contact with CAMS, or do you want us to contact?
I can.
her?
I can. I know. I've known her for years. I mean, it's
Don,
like-
I think if you've known her for years, I think you would, whatever the board would need. And we've talked about this for a year. Getting it to HOAs, the information. I think this is a good direct
yeah,
line.
yeah.
So if they've agreed to put
Oh, yeah.
something in there, I don't know if it's just one time or regularly.
Regular.
We can get the brochure to them, we can get the invitation to them,
Yeah.
and kind of go from there.
Well, their newsletter, that email thing that goes out at the end of the month, basically tells what's going on in the community, dates of stuff, and little tips about this, that, and the other. It's about a page and a half long, and
How about if we put this on the agenda for next time under what we're doing, that
Yeah.
you can bring an example of what you created for them?
okay,
I think it would be helpful
Well,
for
the person
people
was
to
never-
see, because it was a nice little blurb and
yeah,
it
it
showed
was very
up nice
exciting.
in there.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'd be glad to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Is there anything else?
I think I'm done finally.
Okay. Are there any other points on the recycling subcommittee?
No.
All right, so we'll move on to the RCCP hazard mitigation status. Chad, can you update us?
Yeah, the only update I have is that DCM has accepted our proposal from Moffitt Nickel as our risk feasibility study, and everything that was accomplished in that period of time for phases 1 and 2. Town has projects to start phase 3 and 4. I know there has been some emails as far as grants opportunities that Mr. Farrell has forwarded to the town over the past 48 to 72 hours. And, we get stuff from Mackenzie Todd roughly weekly as well on how to move forward. I know we're in budget season. Dustin, our Public Works Department, and Town Administration is taking those projects on how to move forward with them. and how to budget and throw money at them. So I'm still waiting on guidance from them, but that's the update that I have from the RCP.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
The only thing I would add to that is that resilience and hazard mitigation are huge topics in the press these days.
Mhm.
Every day I see multiple stories
Oh, yeah.
about this. And I would encourage everybody to sign up for as many sources of news on this as you can, because there's just so much. Everybody tells a little bit different story, and there's something to be learned from every. I try to share what I find with you individually, and I hope you can take the time to review it, because eventually this is all going to come together, and the town is going to go forward to do these projects. But I think it's going to come back to the ERC to be the eyes and the ears about what's changing and what's going on, to advise the town about, okay, here's where we're at. Here are the new things coming up. Here are grant opportunities that we find out about. If 2 or 3 people share the same information, it's better than nobody sharing that information. So I know it's a big deal to follow this, but I just encourage everybody to do the best they can.
Well, the challenge I see is getting this on the public's radar screens. They are occupied with a lot of different stuff. Some people think this whole climate change thing is some kind of hoax that somebody purposely do something. Never
Well,
mind.
the same channels that we use to communicate with the public on the event and on recycling are channels that we can
Yeah.
communicate about resilience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
And I had an opportunity to communicate with a bunch of people that were upset about what was going on about the dredging. And I said, no, there's issues with dredging, but here's a bigger issue. And it was right after the sea level rise report was published by NOAA. And people need to be,
yeah.
people that are concerned about these things need to be kept appraised about what's going on. Because the new forecasts for sea level rise are significant, and it's coming faster and sooner than anybody ever expected it. And it kind of puts some of these other issues at a different priority, in my view.
Right.
But people need to be informed of it and make their own decision. It's not us telling them, well, this is what I think. This is what NOAA says. This is what NASA says. This is what North Carolina Department of Environment says. And people need to know that. So, okay.
So I have something to add. Candace sent there's a extension, county extension, or anyway, an email on a program, a class they're having now. Could we invite someone here for a 20-minute presentation to cover the basics for us, so we're all on the same page from the county or the state, to educate us on either resiliency or the mitigation?
So they're doing that in conjunction. I have to think who the state organization is. I mean, Brunswick County, the extension office is sort of coordinating it for our area, but there's multiple people. The first session, she might repeat it, was Amy Mead, who I think was here one time talking about maybe rain gardens.
No, I don't think Amy's ever come here.
Yeah, she was for our grain garden.
She was, yeah, but she wasn't at an ERC maybe.
Right, I'm sorry.
But she was here. So, and she ran that first session, and it was kind of an overview of North Carolina, the geography, the climatology, things like that, that are just so, like, this is why this stuff is so important. She might be able to open that up. I think she's got, it's recorded, so it may be out there that we could watch it,
Okay.
either individually or as a group. I'll ask her.
How long of a presentation was it?
It's how long was that class? It's like an hour and a half. It's long.
Okay.
You probably wouldn't want to do it here, but if you're interested in it, it's just a great overview. It was when I first saw the topic, I'm like, oh, and then after I you start watching it, like, this is really interesting.
Okay. She seems experienced, like she can
Yeah.
Well,
present well. Okay.
can you find out if
I'll
we
see if I can get
see
the
that?
website that some of the stuff is restricted, like if you have to it has to recognize your email from the class or something. I
Okay.
kind of doubt that Brunswick is doing something that's sophisticated, but I'll ask her. I'll ask her how we can access it
Okay,
for
good.
people that are interested.
Okay,
Good idea.
that's all the old business. We have no new business items unless anyone, well, nobody added that to the agenda, so there's no public here for comments.
I do have a suggestion for the new business. We discussed it, I think. I'm not ready to move on to the next event, but for Sunset at Sunset, the presentation or with your attendance, the recycling attendance at Sunset, would you like to embellish that this year? More of an impact as opposed to the same thing you're doing at the Earth Day event, which is something we could help with if you wanted to do that, if you thought that was a good idea.
And it was the same
only
kind of
6
thing
months
as this year. It was the first time that we'd been there, and I think, John, it was a learning experience for
Okay.
the two of us. And we didn't have much space because we were sharing it with the town, so we literally had about the amount of
okay.
space that you have right in front of you here. So if we wanted to do that, we probably should decide as a committee if it's something that we want to do and how we would want to present, and then work with Chad to have facilities for it. To have
When
outdoor
is that?
space.
Is the date set every year?
September, October.
Yeah, I think it's the
September. I think
first
it's
Saturday.
October.
I think it's
It's
the
early
first Saturday in
October.
October.
Because
Um,
you seemed to enjoy it last year, right? Meeting everyone
Well,
and learning from
it
everyone.
was really useful to do it. One of the challenges we had is that there couldn't be more than two of us there at any given time.
Right.
Right.
And it wasn't a big issue because we didn't have Don got sick and John went and I went. We just split the time, but we couldn't all be there as the committee.
Right.
So that was kind of like what? The other thing, this was just interesting from the Master Gardener side when they were talking about coming to do this. They were excited because they said the biggest events they do in the entire year in the county are Sunset at Sunset, and then there's something that they do up at, I believe at OIB, not at OIB, at
Oak Island?
Leland.
Leland?
Or Oak Island,
Okay.
somewhere up there, they have an event that's also big.
Okay.
They're excited to come because so many
A lot of
people
people.
come through. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah,
We could do better this year.
It's interesting. The botanical garden at the county complex is one of the best kept secrets in the county. Now, granted, it's not anything like Brook Green Gardens, but it's a very nice.
No, it's
Site.
excellent. Excellent.
The demonstration garden.
Demonstration garden. Thank you.
Is there any other items? Oh, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
We are